Horrific Network Entertainment. Welcome, everybody, to a very special project that we have wanted to do for a very long time to get you guys excited for Sinister Creature Con. And by we, I mean myself. I am Jimmy. I am your panel director of Sinister Creature Con. This will be my 15th Sinister Creature Con in total. Unbelievable. Where is the time gone? And my team of panel moderators, diagonal from me is a guy who started exactly at the same time I did. We started at the same show when the panel director was MIA, and he and I looked at each other, introduced each other to ourselves, and said, I guess it's up to us. And that is Jaye. Okay, how are you doing, my man?
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
I am doing great.
Soon after Jay and I moderated, the guy right next to me here went from escorting only to moderating himself. Mr. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Jim. I'm doing good. Thanks for the promotion.
No problem. No problem. Charlie will actually be taking part as a panel guest as well as a moderator this year. So I'm very excited for that. And then finally, our newest person to join the moderating team. She is one half of the Higby Horror Haunt that you got to come check out if you're in the Central Valley ownership and creative team, along with podcast member John, who you guys have heard on our stuff, or you've seen John at Sinister Creature Con running around the show floor escorting several guests, or if you come to Sinister Hall, or if you come to Sinister Halloween Con, sometimes John even dresses up as his character. So tough to miss John running around the floor. But Ashlei has become the newest moderator over the course of the last 3-ish years. I think you've been doing this.
I started with halfway to Halloween.
Oh, okay. You started over the pandemic. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Which we will
it was the first and beginning was Dag. So I started with Dag at halfway to Halloween and have grown on to many more bigger and better people since then.
Are you kidding me? Dag was your introduction?
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me tell you, it's the right way to start somebody off. Let me tell you, because if anything's going to go wrong, it was in that panel.
We can talk about Charlie's introduction over the course of this show to Dag as well, because that's a behind-the-scenes story that I'll never forget. The premise of this show, though, gang, is we are the 4 moderators that you will see up on the stage with all the guests of Sinister Creature Con. Sometimes a combination of 2 of us. If it's a bigger panel, we have co-moderated panels in the past. But this show specifically, on top of getting you excited for Sinister this June or even Sinister this October, this won't just die at the end of June. This has been a project that Jay actually had the idea for many moons ago, and I said this is the year that we need to turn this into a fruition, because it's too good of an idea for us not to do. So what we are going to do is we're going to watch a panel first show and talk about that panel, or just kind of reflect upon that panel. And one of the first ones that I wanted to do is a panel that I did with CJ Graham in 2018, because CJ will be there here in 2024. He has frequented Sinister Creature Con many times. I would say if you had notches on the belt for as many Sinisters as you've been to, he's probably tied with Nathan Basil for multiple appearances, and he is always a lot of fun. But my God, is he intimidating when you first meet him?
Oh yeah.
And so let's go back to 2018 and watch this CJ Graham panel with young Jimmy. Hopefully, I look skinnier now than I did then.
Jimmy, before you go, you sent 2 photos before you started. You sent 2 photos for right around this time of you and I want to know what happened to the other 2 people that we apparently were back then.
Yeah, I know,
3,
right?
3, because
Yes,
I've lost a lot
Ashlei.
too.
That is
Ashlei,
true.
too.
I didn't see the photo of you, Ashlei.
Oh, he didn't post a photo, but there's been a big difference. Ask Charlie. Charlie keeps asking me where I'm melting away to.
You look
So-
great, Ashlei.
Thank you.
Charlie, how do you look the same?
Well, actually, I was a little.
Charlie's
porky
lost a
when-
lot of weight too.
I was a
back-
little porky when we started this too.
Charlie's classic. He's a fine wine. He doesn't age. He doesn't go anywhere. It just gets better.
I hope so.
Perfect.
Mwah,
Meanwhile,
chef's kiss.
I'm like a aged cheese. I'm an acquired taste.
And we love you.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack, Jimmy.
No, not at all. So here
I
we
wanted
go.
to point out your amazing health journey.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. It's been quite a journey. So, hoping to look good in those Roosevelt shirts when we're on the stage. So yes, 2018 Sinister Creature Con, Scottish Rite Center, CJ Graham, Jason Vorhees from Part 6. Jason Lives.
This is a costume. Please tell me it's a costume. You don't wear this around. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You got your machete with you?
Look at socks are
But
different.
he's-
Shoes are different.
Look how much the
Got 2 different
stage
colors.
has
You know what?
changed.
I'm being polite because there's
Yes.
no people in here.
The
All
stage.
True.
right, all right, brother.
We have a tablecloth, a
Welcome
backdrop
again.
now.
Oh
Our
yeah.
microphones look a lot better. We
So
look a
bare
lot more
bones.
pro now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're using.
All right, so let me clarify a couple things, just because I'm just that kind of guy. You're talking to the Beatles and you're wearing a Rolling Stones T-shirt.
The guys in a
He's
Michael
got a
Myers
Halloween
shirt.
shirt on.
Stand up and show everybody what you're wearing.
Yep.
So for those of you that came by my table, real men use a machete, not an Outback steak knife. Right? I like Castle. I like all the guys. Tyler, hey, they're all good, but Outback steak knife. Who needs a microphone, right?
So when you come on board, man, as Jason, we're very well aware of who he is and what he is capable of. My first question off the get: what are you a born horror fan? Were you a fan of the franchise when you
So,
came
Jimmy?
on board to be Jason?
Was this
No.
your first time meeting any of the Voorhees?
I was a big horror fan, like Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff.
I feel
Lon
like
Chaney
Steve
Jr.,
Dash was before this.
Frankenstein, Werewolf,
Okay.
Mummy, Dracula. For those of you that are old enough to remember that.
Actually,
What was
now
your
that I-
I'm a fan of that. But when I got an opportunity to play
Actually,
the
now
Jason
that I say
part,
that, Steve Dash
just for the
may have been
record, you may
after
recall
this.
I was the second
I
choice.
thought he was, but I can't
Some
remember.
of you don't know that. So there's a scene in there that's not me.
So yeah, he would have been my first.
And you probably
Jason
don't know that either,
that I
but
met.
I'm very honest about it. The scene
How
with
did
the
it
paintball,
feel for the
you
first
see the
time
paintballs
talking to an
hitting the
icon
chest
like
area?
that?
If you think about it, it's a little bigger than I
The
am.
first time I met
Even today.
him, he definitely
And most people just assume I'm wearing padding.
wanted
not
to
me.
make sure I knew my
Because
shit.
originally the cast went to another gentleman
And
who was a
so
stuntman, stunt
he was
coordinator,
now,
and
like,
that was the
warm
first
and
daily
fuzzy
that came
right off
back.
the get-go. But after
Unfortunately,
this
when daily
interview,
came back,
he and
the
I,
presence wasn't
every
what
time I
Paramount
see him
Studios
now,
was looking for, and they
you
called
know,
me back in
he's
to
been
interview on
super
Friday.
cool.
By
He was
Tuesday, I
part
was
of,
back on
like
set
Ashley was saying,
reshooting. That's
the
the only scene that we
pandemic
didn't
Sinister
reshoot because it was
Cybercons
done in
that
the
we
daytime.
did.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually
Yeah.
had to go take a look at the film to know what I was doing
was a,
when I was asked to come do the part.
Or he still is.
For those of you who
A
have
local,
heard
you know,
somebody
kind of
say,
businessman up in Tahoe.
the rest is history.
And so
The
he
rest
is
history.
very
Because I
loyal
wasn't
to
in Los
Northern
Angeles to be an
California as
actor
far
or a
as
stuntman.
making these appearances.
For the record, I'd
So
never
it
done a
is
stunt in my
very
life.
cool to,
Until you
like,
saw me on
see
screen
him
being set
come
on
back
fire,
again and again,
going through doors,
you know,
going through walls,
see him
etc. So a
get
lot
more
of
and more
people, in
comfortable
fact, I
the
did a
more times
panel
that I
with
talked to him.
Tom
'Cause
Morgan
he is a super dope
and
guy.
Kane
Yeah.
Hodder about 6 months ago. And when Kane
He's
found
like
out I'd
the
never done a stunt in my
CEO of
life, he had
Thunder
no
Valley
idea that I
Casino,
was a
right?
stuntman.
Yeah.
He just looked at me and was, a little shocked. But when you're
Is he still
27,
the
28,
CEO?
you can do anything, right?
You
Yeah,
know?
that's
Set
what I
me on
was.
fire.
That's what I was saying. I'm
But
not sure if he still
History
is
being
or
as
if
it
he
is, here we
has,
are talking about it 30 some
you
odd
know,
years later. So it's a
retired or
pleasure to be
whatever.
here.
But
Yeah, he's got a lot of roots in the area for sure.
Had you, when they offer you the role, then did you go back and watch them prior to arriving on set so you kind of had an idea to prepare what they were going to ask of you?
Yeah, what I did was when I got the initial call to come to Paramount Studios to meet Frank Mancuso Jr., Tom McLaughlin, the writer
And he's
director,
coming again
and Michael Nomad, the
June,
stunt
correct?
coordinator.
Or later
I
this
did
month,
go
right?
back and take a look at
yeah,
Right.
he will
number
be
4,
there this
Wonderful.
month.
number 3, which was Ted White, and of course Richard, who's passed
I
on.
got to get my
to get an
picture that
idea
I've
to
got
gauge
signed
what
by
the character
Kane Hodder,
referenced.
also
So when I
signed
went in
by
there,
him.
I kind of knew what they were looking for
Cool.
in general.
Yeah, I
But
got
the interesting part
the
is once
hockey
I got
mask,
it,
and
Tom
he's one of the
McLaughlin
ones that
sat me
hasn't
down
signed
and
it
really
yet.
just gave me more details of what he
I
was
got
looking
that
for. And it
from
just
you
happened he
once
was an
I saw that
old,
you were doing that. I've got a
horror fan like I
original
was with the
artwork from a
Frankenstein
friend
stuff.
of
So he
mine
wanted
who
like the
did a
first
Jason
zombie,
hockey
but he
mask,
didn't
and
want
I
it to
got
be
Kane
robotic.
Hodder to autograph it. I want to get CJ
showing
now and start
motion
collecting
through
Jason's.
power. So it was kind of a nice,
Yeah.
sometimes all the stars
Yeah,
line up.
John has
And it worked out
a
well.
Funko Pop
Yeah,
of
that's
Jason that
funny
he
that you
gets
say
signed.
he was a fan
And he
of
has
the
like
Nice.
classic
Tyler, Steve
horror
Dash,
movies because right off the
CJ,
get you get one of the coolest
yeah,
Friday, if not the
Nice.
coolest
Kane.
Friday opening sequence with
Now,
Tom
Jim, have you
digging
interviewed
up
all
and
the
whole
actors that have played
pike through the
Jason yet?
chest and the Frankenstein-esque lightning catches, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. I mean, that is a really
Not
rad
Derek
thought-
Mears.
Yeah,
Derek
I'm really
Mears
fortunate.
is one that we haven't had.
Part 6 is in the middle of the series, as everyone knows.
Which
But I always
episode
tell
was
people
that?
that I talk to that ask me about it is, I get to be the only Jason that has a James Bond opening.
Which
Kind of
one
cool,
it
right?
was.
Yes.
I get to be the only Jason that came back to life like Frankenstein. Kind of cool. I'm the only Jason that was fortunate enough to have a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Alice Cooper, do the
Yeah.
music. Kind of cool. I'm also the only Jason that has a Batman utility
He was
belt.
the reboot Jason.
You ever thought about
Charlie.
it?
Oh, okay.
And for those of you who can remember the Abbott
2009.
and Costello, there's a little bit of comedy in it. Never leave home without it was
Got
a
it.
big saying back in the 80s with the credit card, the American Express. They always said never leave home
No,
without
he
it.
just talked about
And
the
so
whole
there was a little bit of, and that was all
Frankenstein
Tom McLaughlin when he
sequence,
wrote this.
the opening
Oh,
he
yeah.
had that
sequence
in
of
mind, and that's
Jason
how he
Lives
created
is probably
Jason
the dopest
to,
Friday the 13th
I think,
sequence.
take it to another level
I can
as we sit here
remember.
and talk about it today.
That's the lightning one,
I
right?
mean, your Jason
Yeah.
is just like that brute force type of Jason too. Like the speed in which you walk and you stalk, and
So not to
your-
put you on the spot, Jimmy,
the
but do you
triple head
have a
decapitation,
favorite
like,
iteration of
it's like
Jason?
a brutality that because he evolves all the way from
We all know the answer
the
to that
little
question.
boy Jason, obviously, but when you see him, Steve.
Yeah, but you're
Dash and
recording.
Sackhead to you, and then from you again to
The best
you know,
Jason.
Freddy versus Jason. Like there is an evolution there, and it's almost like
Is that
you're
Jason?
turning that page in number 6 and becoming just this brute force.
Yeah, I think when you look at part 6, another reference point is there's no nudity.
Moderators
There's a couple
torn
fuller
between which
words,
Jason
very
is the
simple,
best
but
Jason.
If you look at some of the series, you'll see not just brief nudity, but nudity. And Tom didn't get into that. It was really about Jason. And I think part 6, if you look at the first part of the series, Jason wasn't really the principal. They call them principals. Those are your actors. Jason was a character in the Friday the 13th series. But when part 6 finally evolved, Jason became the principal. The movie was about the hockey mask. The iconic hockey mask became the series as we went forward. So again, I'm really fortunate to be right in the middle of the series.
Yeah, the relationship between Jason and Tommy Jarvis is right up there in like the horror rivalries. Like he is, Jamie Lee to Michael, and then Nancy to Freddie type of a thing. Like, you're the one who you don't have a final girl, you have a final guy. Like, he keeps coming back for you.
Yeah, I still have difficulties with maggot head. You know, being offended like that, I don't know about you, but that's a mean thing to say to somebody, calling me maggot head. So to this day, I still have retaliation towards him. So occasionally when I do a show, and I
will say
understand he
this
did
for
the show
CJ
a
more
while
than
back, if I
even
catch
more
up with
than
him, you know, him
Kane
and I can have it out
or
one more time.
any of the Michael Myers we had too. Like Jason,
What was one of your
CJ is built like
your
a
favorite
freaking
kills to
professional
do
wrestler.
with the practical effects
Oh, yeah.
that you guys
No.
got to do?
Well, I
Like,
think
he's
that's
a
interesting because
big
you were talking
dude
about the brute
that
force.
comes
To
with-
me personally,
with part
I think
of
if
that
you think about it,
intimidation factor.
you
He's
know,
talking
blood and
about
guts.
how
Anybody can do blood and
his
guts.
Jason is the
And
most
that's nice, but you know,
brute,
heads
forceful
popping off,
Jason
parts
that
coming
kills
out.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of
violent.
natural, right?
If you go
My
back
mind
and watch
is.
part 6
But
too,
brute
like
force,
how he
is when
kills
you take a
people in that
sheriff and you
movie,
break
it
their
is
back.
very aggressive.
But you don't
And
see. You
Oh,
hear
yeah.
it. And that's
Jason is
a
aggressive.
little more scary
but
because
I
there's a
don't-
reality
I will say
factor.
that CJ is the most
You know, for
aggressive
those of you that
Jason,
know
for
my
sure.
little brother Kane Hodder, anybody know Kane? My
Yeah.
brother will tell you his favorite kill is a sleep bag. You don't see the blood and guts, but you hear it. So if you can envision the power and the brute that it would take to break somebody's back or take a sleeping bag with a body in it, fling it around. I mean, yes, it takes a lot to twist somebody's head off. That's pretty cool too. But I mean, at the top is really just the brute force that Jason comes across with. The simplicity, I guess, is what I'm looking for, of taking somebody's arm and
You can
pulling it
tell
out of the
at
socket.
this panel, I haven't
and
been
just-
doing it very long because
oh,
I keep
isn't it
looking
just-
directly in the camera.
just turns
hoping
you
that
on.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be able to- I'm like, look directly
Was
in the
there
camera
like
so you can take a
aha moment
screenshot
for you
and
when
use
you
it
got
for
to
a
put the
photo.
costume on? For
At
the
least
first time?
one.
Yeah, you know, the first time, sometimes I get the question, what's the best scene that I like? The best scene was my first scene. You'll always remember your first scene. You know, I get this wardrobe on, we're shooting at night, and it's Jason's side profile, POV, point of view, and to my right is as I walk into frame, I'm looking back at the mobile home rocking, and I turn and I give that look, that 1/4 inch nod, curiosity factor going back to Frankenstein. That was my first scene. I'll always remember that first scene because I remember Tom saying, step into frame, you know, do a right 90-degree angle, push out your lats and just go forward. Okay. And that was it. I went right towards it and again, never looked back.
With you know, working with Tom Matthews and some of that cast, it's interesting plot because they cover up.
Jimmy,
the
going
fact
back
that
and
it's
watching
actually
some of these,
Crystal
do you
Lake, so you're in
feel
this, you know, town that's trying to
like
keep
there
the
was other
secret,
questions
almost,
you could have asked,
like Elm
or
Street tries to keep Freddy a secret. They're coming.
like
they're covering you up.
rephrased your questions?
But how
yeah.
was that filming
Like
in that
always,
kind of
there's-
a environment where you are
There's
this just
panels
methodical
very
Jason
rarely
Voorhees, and
do I
you're
feel
getting
like,
more
man, like you
town
really nailed it.
opportunity
And,
kills than you are prior when it was
There's a
all
couple
Camp
that I
Crystal
got
Lake.
downloaded already for
Well, the film was
next time
actually
we get
shot
together
under
and we knock a few of these out.
Code.
There's one
Aladdin
that I was
Sane.
like, this was the dopest
That's how
podcast
my
panel
script
I've
still
ever
reads
done,
that I
and
have.
that was with
So nobody knew it was Friday the 13th.
Nathan and
That was
George
kept
P.
tight to
Wilbur.
everybody, especially when you're on set. You know, sets were
That
closed.
conversation
They were at
happened
night.
by
Most people were
complete
sleeping.
coincidence because
But
Danielle
with that, it
Harris
kept a
got
tight
sick
reins
and
on the
left.
fact that it was a Friday the 13th
And so
because of
Nathan
fans.
stepped in for Danielle.
You know, you may not know this, but theoretically there was going
I thought
to be a
that my
part
Bill Mosley
13,
panel,
I guess it would be
I
now,
did-
shot
I was super
about
good
a
with,
year and a half ago.
and that Star
And the
Wars
same
panel
camp
I
was
was
booked
super
out
good with.
for a
But
3-month
other than
window
that,
for the
there's
shoot.
always questions.
For
that
whatever
I would-
reason, the two principals couldn't come
for whatever
to
reason,
terms
whether they're
that
taking
owned
too
two of the
long,
rights, so it kind of went by the way. But I understand they've started
say
to get
taking too
together with
long,
some
like it's
courts
their
that have
fault,
agreed,
but
so we can get another one out.
the answers
But I think if they go
are,
back
leading
to the
into other
concept, it
stories,
is the
and I
same
just don't
thing.
get a
Everybody
chance to
tries to
ask
forget
them,
about
or
Freddy
I
or
forget it
Jason
or whatever. But yeah,
or
they're-
Frankenstein. If you think
when
about
you're
it
up
for a
on that
second, go back and
stage,
watch an
you
old
guys
black and
don't
white.
know this,
They don't
like,
talk about
it
Frankenstein.
rarely goes the way that
It's a
you
myth,
plan.
and then all of a sudden you got
because
another crazy
their
doctor putting
their
together
expectation
body parts.
and your expectation.
So
may
I think
be on
it's
the
just
same
par for the
wavelength,
course. You know,
but how
next
they
generation comes
answer
through.
your
It was a myth.
question
Didn't
may not
exist.
be on the same
Get everybody
wavelength,
so they're not
so
freaked out. And
you
then
just
here
kind of
comes
got
the
to
boy
roll with
again.
it.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I will say this because I think our
When
team
you
is
have
very
done it,
solid.
you know, there's
I
so many fan
don't
films.
recall any of us
Never Hike
having a
Alone.
panel where I
And
was
there's
like,
that little
that was
cameo
horrible.
by
Our panels are
Tom
usually
Tom
very good conversations.
Jarvis is driving the ambulance.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you've gotten to check that out yet or not. Would you ever
If you get to
consider,
actually have a
maybe
conversation with
facing
them.
off with him in that fashion if they got
Yeah.
the funding in that way and it's just a Friday fan
CJ
film?
is really good
They
because
said, "Hey man,
he
we
does
want
give
Jason.
those long,
Would you ever
involved
portray him in that kind of a fashion?"
answers to your
Yeah, I
questions.
think, you know,
he knows.
I get the question when I play Jason
He knows
again.
what his role is.
You know, we are in
he's not
Sacramento,
just
so a lot of
there
you are
to
aware
give
that
short
my
answers.
past,
He's
I was
there to
general
tell
manager of Thunder
stories.
Valley Resort Casino.
That makes a
Some of
big
you may not know
difference
that.
to
Some of
him.
you may know that.
Well, thank
so
you,
for the last
Charlie.
25
Yes.
years, I've ran casino resorts. When I stepped away a year and a half ago to retire,
I mean,
I
you
was able
guys
to
are
start meeting
legends
with
in
fans and play
moderating
with
to
the
me.
Friday the 13th
So
to put some letters of intent out there for some other films. It just happens one of them is
I
a
mean,
Friday the 13th Vengeance,
I wouldn't use the word
in which I've
better
agreed
than
to play
you. I would
Elias
just say we're more
Voorhees,
experienced.
Jason's
wow.
father.
Because each time you get up on that stage,
So there's some
you
twists
are
that'll come with that.
way
Really
better than
popular
you were
now
the
is the
last
YouTube
time.
films that are coming out.
I
for
think
those
we
of you
all
on
are,
social
to
media
a degree.
platforms.
Yeah, I think
Heavily,
that's true.
and
I think
wow,
even with
what
the
a job
Endicon itself,
these
your
folks
first
are doing
panel
with
to your
today's
last
technology
panel, by the
with
time you're done
drones
with your
and
last one,
go
you're like,
cameras
damn,
and
I
stuff.
wish
It's
that
completely
first one
different
went like
than
that
in my
one.
era when we did these movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah.
of the technology advancement and the
I
simplicity.
just wish Jimmy was there
and
for
the
my
talent.
last panel
Hell of a lot of good talent out
in
there.
October.
But I think there's some
That's
opportunities
true.
to put some together. Some fan
wish you would
films,
have
Never
been
Hike
allowed
Alone
to
was one of them, a
record
good
it.
example.
Yeah,
I do
me too.
understand that there are other people looking right now to script a Friday the 13th. Again,
Maybe I
think
did
that
better
my
because I
understanding
wasn't
is,
being
Mr.
recorded.
Miller, Mr.
Who knows?
Cunningham, the
Maybe.
two parties eventually are going to come together on the
You had the
decision making of
pressure
who
off.
owns what part of the right. Once they do, they can get it back out and
I
mainstream
feel like the
it.
pressure is
I believe Paramount will be back involved
not
at that point,
asking them
because
the
two
same
separate
question they
studios
get a
had
million
rights
times
as did two separate
and
individuals, and I think those
meeting
terms
them
get
on their
shorter,
energy level. And when you
the
get
right of
some of them
refusal
that
is
come in
passed
and
when they
they're
start working together.
either like
So I don't know
super
if you can
chill
share
and
with us
super ready to
the
go, and
opportunity
it's like
to be
whatever you got, let's
Elias.
do it.
Is
And then you
that
get the other
movie-
ones that are like,
we will talk in
know
like
this,
kinda
know that,
Jason
we're not going to do this, we're not going to do
origin, or
that.
before he even
And then
goes
you're
to
like,
Camp
oh, well,
Crystal
there's
Lake, or
half my
you,
notes. Like,
Elias, after
Yeah.
why,
Jason has already
why didn't
come
you tell me this when I met you,
I guess
you know,
I can
4
give you
hours
this,
ago?
The punt
Yeah,
on
when
the
I
actual
asked you,
poster
hey, is there anything like I do that?
that
You
says
guys have
Vengeance
heard me
Friday
do
the
it. You've
13th,
done it. We have. Is there
Father
anything
knows
you don't want to
best.
talk about? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to promote? Definitely that I want to end on, so that way we really
And when
get it in
do
their
you guys
heads.
start working
Right.
on that?
It's
And
in
9 out of
Yeah.
10 times they're like, no, no, it's
So if
anything.
you take a look, if you pulled it up, you'd find it. It's going
Well,
through
and I
the
think for
process.
us, the
I
other
did an
thing
interview
is
about
it was
2 weeks ago with a
around
gentleman
all
named
of the
Jason,
the
believe it or
SAG
not,
strikes.
who is
So
going to
there was
play the
so
Jason.
many
Very similar size to
parameters
me.
already.
And,
Oh, yeah, that
that
was
the process,
October's
and I learned a few more
difficulty.
things about the film, the way they
That
want
was
to do it.
definitely
But it is
October
going
of
to be a great
2023's difficulties
opportunity
was
to
the
do some
SAG strike
portrayals
and what we
actually
could
get
and
some
couldn't talk
involvement
about.
for the fans. I think the most
I think
important
that
thing is
when I did my
making
panel
money is
with
important. I
James
get it.
Allegro,
The return on the
he did a
investment,
really good
ROI.
job of
But
like
at the end of the day,
getting
the
his
fans are
point
what made
across
Friday the
without
13th.
crossing the line and getting
Sometimes
himself
they
in
gotta get
trouble.
away from bickering of who owns what.
He
To keep
should
you
have
happy and
gotten
satisfied,
like an
to keep
award.
this
If there was
franchise
some
what
type
it's
of award
become.
for
I always tell
tiptoeing
people, if I
around
hold up a picture of Tom Cruise,
union guidelines,
worldwide,
that
here's Tom
man
Cruise.
walked right up to
No,
the
no.
edge
I
and was
guarantee
like,
you hold a picture of CJ
no, I'm
Graham, they're
good.
not going to know
I'm good.
exactly
He
who
was
he is.
so
but if you
good
hold a
at it.
picture of the hockey mask, they'll know it's Jason.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
the notoriety.
DJ's
I want to
talking
talk
about-
more basketball
not
with
being
him.
maybe an A actor, quote unquote, but at the same time, the notoriety.
CJ
is
just
because of
talked
the fans
about
worldwide, and that's
playing
because everyone in this
Elias
room, so
Voorhees.
thank
Did
you.
any of you guys see him play Elias Voorhees in the fan
Was
film?
that a fan? Fan?
I got one
Yeah.
more question before we open it up. I always enjoy asking actors, actresses, filmmakers from properties like Friday the 13th. Every year, my friends and I, we pilgrimage down to LA during this time of the year for Halloween events, Halloween Horror Nights. This year, I'll tell you what, I've favoritism towards Halloween Horror Nights Universal, but WB, you got to go, man. They did Camp Crystal Lake. They built the camp. You walk up the camp trail. They filled in this landfill with water. They built the boat dock, built 4 cabins, and the first thing that you see through this haunt experience is backlit fog rolling in, Jason Vorhees standing on this boat dock. Have you ever, because they've done it, Universal's done Friday houses a bunch, have you ever gone through one and seen yourself?
Have to see myself. Yeah, I have. The interesting thing is, going back to what you said is, and Kane will tell you the same thing. I was booked originally for part 7 through through Paramount Studios. John was going to be the director. Frank Mancuso Jr. was going to be the producer from Paramount. Kane Hodder's a huge horror fan. We're talking huge. And, he had to go to John, who was the director, and he had worked with John. John really said, okay, Kane. John had to go to Paramount to get the part for Kane. Again, from an ambassador perspective of doing the Jason, he did 4 of them. He's been out there every week doing shows and helping to get the franchise to where it is today. So I always say thank you to Kane, because he really did a great job. And if they would have continued to individualize the Jasons, you may not have what Kane has done for everybody to get out there. I think every time I see a Jason, I'm reminded that I'm part of that franchise. It's interesting how people do not know your face until I stand up and they're like, oh yeah, he's Jason.
I encourage
But
everybody
it's
to go
amazing.
back
I've
to
gone through
2017
TSA. Everybody's been through
to
TSA, right?
2019.
And had an agent look
If
at
you
my
have
name,
the
look at
time
me,
and
goes,
listen
"You
to
guy played
Campfire
Jason." I'm
Chronicles
like,
and
"You
the
have to be
Kane
kidding."
Hodder versus Charlie
Yeah.
Williams feud.
Oh man, I go, Derek Mears, he was,
Yeah.
I go, see the guy back there? That's Derek.
You know what I was
we
thinking
were
while
talking
watching
about
this?
the show
It would be
years
really cool
ago. It's
if we could
amazing. I've
get
been to Universal Studios.
all of the
And then
Jasons
walking
that
with
are
my
still
family
living,
and
God
somebody
rest
goes,
their souls, that are not with those that are not with us, but get them all for one panel at Sinister. I think it would be a fantastic panel. It's probably got to be an hour and a half long, because those guys are all going to talk trash to each other and bash each
But at the
other.
same time, I always go back and look at you and say,
It would have
But
to
I
be a
think-
main event.
us, because the series
But I
still
think it would be a
continues on.
phenomenal panel for
WB,
our
Universal
group.
Studios,
Oh,
anything you see
definitely.
that's adjacent
No, yeah,
is
there's,
because the fans have
the
made
thing-
it, kept it alive. No different than the Frankenstein of the horror. Remember back in the 60s and the 50s, if you go back and look
Doing
at those.
anything, saying
Mummy.
anything,
So, I mean,
and then
everybody's
having
got
to
to
take
remember
it
where it
back
started. It
before the
started with some
schedule
hard
is
work
finalized
and then
for
fan base.
this one coming up.
Right on. Who has a
But
question?
there is
for
something
CJ?
kind of similar brewing for this year, but it is multi-franchise, so across multiple franchises.
Yeah,
But
that was, I did a
to
thing with,
line all these
everybody knows
guys
Alice
up
Cooper, right?
and to have like a
Yeah,
hockey
man, behind the
mask,
mask.
each of their
Alice
hockey masks in
Cooper
front of them or
I've
something.
met him several
would be
times, fortunate enough to
really, really dope.
work
It would
with
be
him.
epic.
Oh, hell yeah.
In November. Then in November, 1st of December,
You'd
I'm
get,
doing a show.
you'd get a
in
tremendous
Louisville, Kentucky.
audience for
And
that.
They're in
on
the process of
YouTube
seeing when
and-
they can work in Alice
Oh, yeah.
Cooper's
Yeah.
schedule.
Oh,
for him to come in,
definitely.
I'm gonna put
And the
That would
draw
be amazing.
alone would be
Yeah.
amazing. To get
Yeah.
all of them in one room and everyone could just line up and get all their signatures
One thing
down the
that
row, that
eventually
would
will happen
be,
here is Sacramento
it would be
continues to grow,
amazing.
with their
Yeah.
con, and this has been an amazing con, is the photo opportunity for you to come in and take pictures. And it's developing, and I'm quite confident Tim and everybody will get it here eventually. But one of the big things that's out there right now is me putting
Lo and
on the full
behold, we
wardrobe
have started doing
and bringing
photo
you into a studio
opportunities.
setting with a green screen.
Yeah.
and
Now the
grabbing you by
question
throat.
is CJ doing a photo op
And
this
having
year?
photos with Jason Wardrobe, myself.
I don't think so.
We did a
Not to
show
my
a while
knowledge,
back
but
with
that
6
would
of
be
us.
freaking wild.
Ken, all the way down to Ted White, and Wardrobe with fans. So it's
Wow.
become a big deal. And even the fans that don't wear a hockey mask, everyone wants to take a picture with them. You do your selfies, but these are pictures that are done professionally. So you've got an 8x10 that's really cool.
Anybody else question?
So, Jimmy, this question for you, but really everybody, but like in this moment here,
So the
what
water
what
scenes
goes
in
through all
part
the
6,
moderators'
you're gonna
heads
love
the
this
second
because
you
it's
open it up to the
different areas.
audience? If you
see me
haven't
coming out
seen
of the
somebody
water
already
and
raise
going
your
into the
hand.
water, that's a stagnant.
I'm like,
No,
oh
it's
shit,
late.
is anybody gonna ask
In
anything?
Covington, Georgia.
Where are we gonna
Stagnant means it
fish and
doesn't
fill
move.
this in? Like, where's the
Yucky.
interaction?
It's got leeches
Listen,
and
I
water.
always have some extra questions.
True story.
If
They
if
forgot
that
to tell me about
happens,
that when I
to
did the
try
movie.
to
I
stir
didn't learn until I
something
got
up.
out and went to the shower.
Yeah.
And I said,
With
we
the
need to look for
audience.
leeches.
I'm like that
What
too.
about
I
you,
usually-
Jimmy?
But that's a stagnant
No,
lake.
I'm
Then there's another
just like what
scene
Charlie
where you
said.
see me
I've
being
got
set
like
on
2 or
fire.
3 in
One
my
scene
back
where I'm actually
pocket
in an
just
Olympic
in
pool
case, because I've seen
in
that
Los
situation.
Angeles. Then there's a scene
where
underwater,
you
which
run
I'm
out
in
of
a
stuff to talk
diving
about,
Olympic
and that's not a
swimming
cool
pool in Los
feeling
Angeles.
at all.
20 feet
Yeah.
underwater, chained down.
I
breathing
think
on
my
me.
backup's
Okay.
gonna
It
be
was the
where
fights.
I'm gonna be like, all
Then the
right,
water
2
scene
truths
where
and a
the
lie,
hockey
and the
mask
audience
gets
has to
wiped out,
figure
you
it
see the
out.
blood and guts come
Yeah.
out at the very end of the movie.
I
That's
shouldn't say
actually
this
Tom
because you're
McLaughlin's
recording
mother
and people are
father's
going to
pool
see this,
in the backyard
but-
in Los Angeles.
there's a
So,
trick
movie
that I
magic.
do
So, and I always laugh because Tom
that
had
my
promised
wife
his parents
says
he'd
if
clean the
I've
pool
hypnotized
because
the
they went
audience.
down and got guts from a pig and all kinds of stuff to do that.
And so whenever
when that
I
propeller
ask
hit,
the
they would fly in
audience,
the pool.
if you look at my
So
panels,
I find it interesting.
I don't
about
know if I
Tom
do it
getting
on the
mom and dad
paranormal
to
one
let
we're going to
them
talk about
come in the
later.
backyard and
But
do that last shot.
if you look, whenever
So,
I ask the
4
audience,
different areas,
I
4
will
different
just
waters.
point to an
Welcome to my
area
world.
instead of asking the audience. I do the.
Yeah,
I thought I saw a hand up over there.
He's got
Whether
a
I
Michael
saw a
Myers
hand or
shirt on,
not,
too.
now somebody in the area I'm pointing that might have had a question will go, well, yeah, I did. And it works about 90% of the time.
Are you late to class?
That's actually a really good tactic.
Okay, I already answered that question.
I feel like an asshole doing it, but
For those of you that
it
didn't
works
hear
so
or
often.
are
I'm like,
late
I
to
have to keep
class,
doing it.
Yeah,
The
if it
Jedi
works,
mind trick. It's
Sheriff's
amazing.
back, that
Yeah,
power.
Yeah,
if it works, it
just
works.
I thought I saw a hand up over
That to me
there.
is the best kill because of the force, that
Try it,
intensity
see
that
if
it
it
takes
works.
to hurt somebody like that.
Yeah, that's a good
Right here,
good
yeah.
play.
That's a good trick, Jay. That's
It's a lot of times people just don't want to be the first person to put their hand up, but if you've given them permission
So you must have interviewed with Steve
by
Dash,
pointing
'cause
them
Steve always
out,
talks about
they're
his little
like,
cut
oh,
in
well,
his
maybe
finger.
you're
I
pointing
cut
at
my
me.
finger.
Okay.
Jesus, the shoes didn't fit. No, I don't have anything to complain about.
yeah.
I was
Sometimes
Jason.
I think I
Right?
don't
I
give them
didn't feel
enough
the pain.
time
Right?
to ask questions.
I was a badass.
And I have to kind of work on that
Yeah, in the back.
personally, because I have so many questions that
Were you
I
late to
want to
class?
get out that I'm
Well,
sometimes it's
So,
just I
paintball
go a
scene,
little bit too
I got the
long,
shirt, though. I
and
love
there's
you,
only
bro. I
time
love
for
you.
2 or 3 questions. and
Paintball scene was not me.
I have
yes,
a
it was
question
real
about. I
Ohio
know
because I
we
can
can't get
always
it.
go back.
And there was a little padding
Yeah.
on
You can
the
always
guy
go
that
back
did it,
and continue
and
to
that's why
ask
there's an illusion.
questions
Everybody
if you
just
don't
thinks
have
it's
a
me
lot.
with padding,
But
but
to
it
give
was
those
a real
people the
paintball gun. They did a
chance
great
to
job
come
because of the
to
way it's
ask their
splattered, as you can
question, they
see.
need that personal
Obviously, you played the
contact,
game
too.
and been hit, so you know.
Yeah.
Michael.
Is there any way we can get a microphone in the room that people can, like, we can pass around?
I
Well, we
would
did
hope.
that before, right?
I think we have.
Yeah,
that.
before
is
we had the new setup in October, we had a microphone before that we could pass around that we started.
I
So
understand
we
there
can
is
talk
a
to the
Jason
guys and
chain
see if they
down
can
for
get us
scuba
an
divers.
extra one, or if we
So
don't
if you
have
can
any
imagine being down
extra
the bottom
panel
of the lake
members
and
at the
coming
table and we
across
have 4
this
mics, we
mannequin
could just
chained
pass
to the
one of
bottom,
those
might be a
around.
little fearful. I mean,
Yeah. Because then
not
when
my
we
choice.
when we call on
if that's
somebody,
something
one of
you
the
did, I
panel
think it's
team can just
artistic.
run
I
up
think
to
it's
them and
original.
put the mic in front of them
You
so we
know,
can hear it on the
I
recording
wasn't aware of the
too.
location. I've heard of
Sure.
it multiple times.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be kind of cool if you're out
Yeah,
there
I
and you
thought
get
that was a good
pictures and
idea.
somebody goes,
John did that,
I mean,
right,
could you imagine
Ashlei?
if you were
Yeah.
in the tank, you come
I
around
remember
the corner
doing
and
that
it's Jason?
one year, but
Think about it. Things that make you go,
Jimmy, it could be really cool if we set up another camera that faces the audience, so when they ask the question, we
kill
could
would I
pan to
add?
them
I
and
think I'd add a
and
different
clip
point
that
of view,
in so that
'cause
you
we
can
talked
see
about
it,
earlier
and
with
then it
today's
just kind of makes it
technology,
a little more
the
elevated.
webcams, you really can get it. Can you
good idea.
imagine doing something with your
You
hands?
probably
where
See,
you
this
set
is
up
this is
close.
how all of our
It's
ideas come
connected to
apart. We
your
just
arm
get in
now
a
because they do
chat room
things like
together,
that.
and then it just
So,
starts
I
flowing.
think the only thing I have not
Yeah.
seen Jason do, this
No,
is
I'm
my,
thinking we could
and
set up
maybe
the
I've seen it because
DSLR
it's stuck in my mind. I've
and
never seen Jason
just do a wide shot.
go into somebody's
yeah, that's
face
all.
into their
That's
brain
all
and
it
pull
needs
their
to
brains
be.
out.
Yeah.
You ever thought about that? Right through the eyeballs, and just pull it out. I've never seen that. Now maybe I've seen it somewhere, all right, in a movie, but I've never seen Jason do that. I think that would be an amazing kill because of the force that it would take to go through somebody's skull with your fist.
It's
Oof.
actually kind of surprising he hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't. So I mean, I think there's so many cool generic kills out there that could be incorporated in today's Jason factor. If I was doing, and again, it's easy to be an armchair quarterback, you know.
Jimmy,
I ain't putting
in
up
your
the $15
head,
million to make the movie.
when
And I'm
you
just the
get
outsider looking in.
a panel
Armchair
like this,
quarterback.
when
Like,
you
for all
know,
guys that
oh,
got something to
CJ
say
is
tomorrow and
coming.
you didn't like the play.
in
Oh,
your
I should've
head,
done
do
this.
you
Like,
have a
you
little
would've done the same
checklist
thing.
of like, all right, there's
Point
another
is, I think it
Jason
would be
down?
cool that if you had
Yeah.
Jason come back in today's
Totally.
element with the way camera technology
Do you
has
have a
developed, radio
franchise
frequencies and stuff,
that
they
you
could
are
do something
definitely like,
really
I want to hit
ironic without
all
using
of
too much
the villain,
technology,
all of the
green
final
screens,
girls,
computer
all of the
systems, the
side.
reality of it. But I also think it'd be fun to bring all the Jasons that are still living, which all of them are except Richard.
You know, now it's
and they
all
would
the
have
Jasons.
cameos in it,
just
without
because
wardrobe.
Sinister really brings
So
in
you
all
can
the,
imagine me being
has
the
really
sheriff
brought
coming
in a
in
lot
and
of
new
them
Jason kills
before.
So everybody would be coming to see the Jasons that have
for
played
the longest time
in reality
Sid
be
Haig.
whacked by who the
And
new
we almost
champ
got him,
is.
and then the
And let that
pandemic
go
happened.
forward because it's got a twist to it. You're
And
still going to
then
have
after, but
counselors,
right
you're gonna
after
have
him, if not tied
mechanics,
with
you're gonna
him, was
have
Bill
sheriffs.
Moseley.
Everybody's
So
going to
finally
get
getting
killed.
to
But why
interview
not
Bill
use the
Moseley.
Jasons to put a sick twist to
I
it?
was so Ashley will
Because
tell
everybody's
you,
gonna wanna
she
see
came
who
up
they
to
are.
me in the hallway right
You know,
before
and
that,
watch each one of them get whacked.
and like grabbed me by the
And
face.
each one of them gets
and
whacked
like, I
by their
actually
favorite
thought
kill.
Ashley was gonna slap me to get me like.
Oh, you
Yes,
should have.
Sleeping bag? Dead.
I thought about it. I definitely thought
Let's
about
have
it.
one more go.
That would have been
Did you
perfect.
have one?
Except Ashley,
Well-
it should have been backhanded.
Okay, we're all
That's
big
not my
Thor
style.
fans,
Nintendo game.
right?
Well, you're going back a ways.
Every
right?
one of us grew up loving
I'm
Thor
very familiar with it. And that's
and
one thing
watching
that's really
these
brought to the
movies.
forefront. Kane Hodder did a lot
Did
of
you
work on the
ever
recent video
think
game that's
when
come
you
out.
were
And that's been a big factor
watching
for a
those
lot of the younger
movies
fans
on
to come forward
VHS
and
or
participate and get into the Jason era,
on
the genre,
DVD, early
because they've been out there
DVD, did
playing
you
that
ever
different
think
game.
that
So
you
Kane
would
did a
be
great job of representing
interacting
all of us
with
and
these
trying to mimic
guys that were
our
the
movement to put
principals
into that.
in these
The
films?
Nintendo one, no,
I
I
mean,
never
that
did
to
that.
me is
So,
the amazing
I mean,
part.
that's going
I
back
go
a
back
couple
10
years.
and I'm thinking, you know, I'm a
But I
retired
think for those of you
teacher
who have
and I'm
played it
not,
and are playing it, it's very
you know,
popular.
I'm
and
comfortable
again, it's
with
just
the
part
way
of the
things
feature of
are
the iconic image.
going, and then having the opportunity
Everybody,
to meet
please help
and
me
to
in
interact
thanking
with these
Mr.
people
CJ Graham
that
for coming.
I've been a fan of for so many years. It just sometimes I sit there and I think about it and I go,
You
man,
can visit him
I've got all
at
these
his
pictures of
table.
me with these people. I've met them. I've talked to them. I've had what's even greater for me is I've had personal moments with them.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've had I remember waiting with Joe Bob Briggs while Darcy went to the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
And Joe and I happened to mention somehow the idea that I was a teacher, and Joe Bob was telling me, well, my mom was a teacher, and we had this nice talk about, you know, his mom. Now that to me was priceless moment, you know, where I'm really getting to know these people on a personal level. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
For
a
me-
great. Well, hold that thought, because we are gonna be right back, so we can open with that for you, Jay.
There we go.
Because we got a few more of these to get through. Peek behind the curtain. We're trying to knock these out, but that, Charlie, was a nice sentiment, because priceless moments are what we aim to produce for you guys if you come into the panel room at Sinister Creature Con. So you can click the link in the show notes of this episode, and we will see you June 22nd, 23rd in Sacramento, California at the Scottish Rite Center. Go ahead. We will be there with Devin Sawa, Bonnie Aarons, Alex Vincent, so many others, including CJ Graham, will be there. So make sure to come and say hello if you are. Make sure you mention that you checked out this show, and we will definitely be there having a great time in the panel room. So for Ashley, Charlie, and Jay, we will see you on the next episode, and we will see you at Sinister Creature Con. Stay sinister, everybody.
Woo!